I finally watched Birds of Prey. If you've been watching me for a while, then you probably know by this point that every time I bring up this movie, I have to mention Birds of Prey, which I have still not seen yet. But now I have. I have seen Birds of Prey. Finally got the chance to sit down and watch this movie. So today we're going to be talking about it, and we're talking full-on spoilers, my brutally honest opinions on this movie. And this movie came out almost a year ago at this point. I'm just now seeing it, so we're going to talk about it anyway, because who cares? And this movie overall, it's not the best, but it's also not the worst either. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'll do a DCEU ranking at some point, and you'll find out where I rank it there then. But I have a lot of problems with this movie, specifically like the first half of it. The third act, I think, was pretty good overall. There were a lot of parts I liked. Still a couple moments. But probably one of the biggest problems with this movie is just the title. It's called Birds of Prey, and it's not a Birds of Prey movie. Like, literally, the Birds of Prey are barely in it. And then you have the opposite side of people saying, oh, okay, well, it's not a Birds of Prey movie. It's more of just a Harley Quinn movie. And yes, I have to say, like, it is a good Harley Quinn movie. But really, the whole main story here is you're supposed to follow the story of Harley becoming her own person after her breakup with the Joker. But you can't really do that story when we haven't experienced her relationship with the Joker, because this is only our second appearance of this character, and in Suicide Squad, when we saw her before, sure, we got a couple scenes between her and Joker, but we never really got to see their relationship, and that's why this story works in the comics, because those two characters were in a relationship for so long, and you saw the abuse there. But here, you're just jumping straight into it, and it's just going straight into, oh, they broke up and everything. So I don't think it really worked that well. Like, I think this was done much, much better on the Harley Quinn animated series, which I absolutely love. So yeah, I just, like I said, I think it's a good Harley Quinn movie because this fits the style of the Harley Quinn that we were set up with in the Suicide Squad movie, but it just isn't what I wanted to see from this. And speaking of Harley Quinn, let's start doing a character breakdown here. Of course, Harley Quinn is the main character here in the movie, and again, it's a Harley Quinn movie, but not like the Harley Quinn I'm used to. Of course, I'm used to seeing her mostly in Batman the Animated Series with the classic red and black jester outfit, and I'm fine with her not having that outfit and everything, because that would kind of look silly. But I do think a lot of the outfits and looks that she had in this movie, I just wasn't a big fan of, like having like the I don't even know what it's called. It just, her hairstyle, I just wasn't into it. I mean, it's not really a big thing. But one of the cool things here was her sexuality was actually kind of confirmed here, because in the beginning we did get that animated intro basically explaining her lifelong story, and there was a shot where she was talking about some past relationships before she even met the Joker, and it showed her in a relationship with a guy, and then another guy, and then one with a woman. So this does confirm that Harley Quinn is bisexual, I guess, or, she was in college, so maybe she was just experimenting or something. But hopefully this means that one of the next times we see Harley Quinn in the DCEU, we can get that romance between her and Poison Ivy, because I am loving that on the Harley Quinn animated series, again, because that show is just so good. Harley Ivy is so good on that show, so I would love to see a live action adaptation of that, and actually do a Gotham City Sirens movie instead of shoving Harley Quinn into Birds of Prey, which really didn't make sense from the start. But I'll talk about that more later at the end of the video. Another thing I did like about Harley Quinn's character in this movie actually didn't even have to do with her character, but it was her hyena. So that's a classic part of her character from Batman the Animated Series. She had 2 hyena pets. We only had one in this movie, and he was named Bruce after, of course, Bruce Wayne. So it was cool. I was very relieved to see that he was alive by the end of the movie. And, honestly, Bruce, one of the best characters in the movie. I'm excited to see him again. And hopefully she does get a second hyena as well. Now, this probably the second biggest character in this movie was Cassandra Cain. I'm not really going to talk about her too much because this character is nothing like she is in the comics. Like, she's a really, really cool character in the comics. And in this movie, she's not. So I'm just not going to get too much into it. I did not like this version of the character. She wasn't really even that necessary. And I don't really like her relationship with Harley. Like, it made sense for the story. But going forward, like, with the ending and everything, she's kind of like Harley Quinn's sidekick, like her protege. And Harley Quinn isn't supposed to have a sidekick. Like, the only time she works with people is like a one and done situation, or when she teams up with Poison Ivy because they have an actual romance, and at that point they're equals and they're not like sidekick and main person. So I wasn't a big fan of Cassandra Cain in this movie. But now let's get on to talking about the actual Birds of Prey characters in this movie, with one of the best characters in the movie, which of course is Black Canary, aka Dinah Lance. A lot of people were hesitant going into this movie with this character because of the casting of Journey Smollett-Bell, but I think she did a great job. I love this character, and I love the connections to her mother, how her mother was also the Black Canary before, and she was a superhero as well. And in the comics, she was actually a member of the Justice Society of America. So we know that in the Black Adam movie, we're going to be seeing that team appear, and we're getting both an OG version and a modern day version of that. So it would be totally possible to see Dinah's mother appear in that version. I mean, I don't think she will, just based off leaks and stuff, but it's totally possible. So that would be really cool to see. Then another big part of the Black Canary character is her canary cry, and we only saw it once in this movie, which was a little disappointing. We didn't see more of it, but when we did see it, it was definitely really cool. I mean, when she fainted, I kind of didn't care for that, but I mean, if she's just like starting to learn to use her powers and stuff, then I guess it makes sense. So there's that. But then we have the character of Renee Montoya, who, of course, is a famous GCPD cop in the comics. Like, she is up there in level of Jim Gordon and Harvey Bullock. But in this movie, she was, like nobody liked her. like, she was just portrayed very differently, and I wasn't a big fan of that, or really this character at all. And one of the big points of this character being in the movie was for some more LGBT representation. And you did have her ex-girlfriend in there, but like, she was very forgettable. Like, literally a couple minutes ago, I just remembered, like, oh yeah, her ex-girlfriend was in this movie, and she actually had that connection there. Like, it was very forgettable. And honestly, this character didn't really do much in the movie. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. But then we have Huntress, another really cool character that I liked in this movie, which had a very, very small role. She was barely in the movie, but we did get a little bit of her backstory. I liked how they portrayed her backstory with the mob killing her family and everything, and then getting trained. So that was cool. She was a really cool character in this movie. Like I said, she didn't really do much, but she did make me realize that crossbows are pretty cool. They honestly are pretty cool, and I'd love to see more of this character along with Black Canary in the future as well. Again, I'll talk about that later at the end of the video. But now, guys, let's go on to talk about the villains of the movie with Victor Zsasz. He didn't do much in this movie either. A lot of these characters didn't really do much in this movie. Zsasz, he was hella creepy, but he really died very easily. I mean, sure, it was funny the way Harley was stabbing him and everything, but, Victor Zsasz, he should have been more just scarier and, more violent than that, I guess you could say. But of course, in this movie, Zsasz was the right-hand man to the main villain of the movie, Black Mask. And another one of the best characters in this movie, Ewan McGregor, was great in the role. Although that scene where he was in the club and then that girl was laughing and then he like made her stand up on the table and then like make her take her dress off and everything like that was uncomfortable, and I felt like they were building it up to like him murdering her to like show that he is a big villain and everything, but he didn't, so that was kind of weird and awkward. But I mean, still doing that, embarrassing her like that is kind of a villainous thing to do, I guess you could say. And it was cool to see that he was like having Zsasz cut people's faces off and everything. I mean, obviously not cool, but you know, it's a very Black Mask thing to do. And his actual Black Mask was really awesome. I loved the way how he like when he was like that moment where Zsasz revealed Black Canary betrayed them, and then he was like, fine, I'll do it myself, kind of like that Thanos moment from one of the post-credit scenes. And then he put on his Black Mask and he looked really cool. I just wish he had like the white suit and everything from the comics. That would have been cool, but other than that, he looked amazing, except for when he died. That was one of the suckiest moments of this movie, is that he literally got blown up, and like there was like he's a, I don't know if I'd say he's a big Batman villain, but he is an important, cool Batman villain that they totally could have saved for the future of the DCEU. Same with Zsasz, but now they're just dead. So I really like this character, and I wish that we could have seen more of him. You know, if we ever get that Batfleck HBO Max series, you know, he could totally be part of that. I mean, I guess that would take place in the past, but who knows? But anyways, guys, those are all the big characters in the Birds of Prey movie, and I do want to talk about the Birds of Prey themselves, because we do have how Harley went off with Cassandra Cain and they did their own thing, and then we did get the official formation of the Birds of Prey with Black Canary, Huntress, and Renee Montoya. So that was really cool to see them there with all their comic accurate costumes and everything. I loved Huntress's mask and her suit and Black Canary's outfit, so that was awesome. And this really was set up for another project, and I feel like the perfect way to do this would be just do a Birds of Prey HBO Max series, or you know, maybe even a movie, but I feel like HBO Max series would work even better, because these were some of the best characters in the movie. I mean, again, Renee Montoya wasn't the greatest, but Black Canary and Huntress were amazing, and I would love to see more of them. And with them trying to now copy the MCU and DC basically trying to do a cinematic universe now and connect all this stuff with the series and the movies, do a Birds of Prey series, and then you can have other Birds of Prey members in there as well. And also, we know that we're getting a Batgirl movie for HBO Max, so then you could tie those two together, have the Batgirl movie come out, then have her show up in the Birds of Prey series and do that whole thing. So I think that would be the best course of action after this, because obviously we are not getting a Birds of Prey 2, at least not in this way. Like I said, it could be a series or it could be a movie. I think we definitely should get more Birds of Prey, another project, but definitely do not involve Harley Quinn, because, you know, it was a cool movie and everything, but Harley Quinn just does not belong with the Birds of Prey. Fighting against them, sure. Being a member, no. So really what they should do, again, do a Birds of Prey sequel or HBO Max series that's about the Birds of Prey. You showcase these awesome characters, and then you do a Gotham City Sirens movie where you have Harley Quinn doing her Harley Quinn stuff, but then you bring in Poison Ivy, set up that relationship, maybe even get in Catwoman, whether that's Zoe Kravitz's version from the Batman or not. That is just how you need to do this. So guys, that is my spoiler review of Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, even though it's like a year late. Overall, this movie, again, I know I just listed off a whole bunch of things I didn't like about it, but there were plenty of parts I did like. So overall, I like this movie. But guys, let me know down in the comments below all your thoughts on this Birds of Prey movie. What would you like to see from the future, and more.